Hello, and welcome, dear ones, to part 2 of my Jeshua series. Yes, those who have seen part 1, I hope and pray that it has done something to your spirit and has touched your soul, that you may gain new insights for yourselves, and that together we get closer to the core of the truth. Today we're going to talk about something completely different. Today's about incorrect places, incorrect names, and incorrect times. Very, very exciting. We're really going to break it down now. A lot of biblical terms. Place names, times, and try to put that into the right perspective, together here and today. But in part 2, we will also look at the first protagonists of the Bible. 1, as it probably could have been different. It could be, or probably even true. It's going to be really exciting, and I'm really excited now that it will go into the second part together with you. You know, the question is not. I wrote, for example, were the places and events located around Yeshua. It's actually a rhetorical question, because we have countless, even bishops, saints, popes, who have already admitted this themselves. But I'll explain that to you in due time. Was something really changed here on purpose, to create a different narrative? But why would someone do that? But the question shouldn't be, why would someone do that? Why shouldn't one do it? This has already been done with countless other stories. Remember, the stories of Horus and Odysseus took place, according to the head of the ancient library of Alexandria, in the Atlantic of the North and Baltic Seas. The Nordic Thor, or the Germanic Donar, was simply renamed Jupiter by the Romans. It has been borrowed. Aristotle clearly stated that the Greeks got their philosophy from the ancient Celts. And especially the story about Yeshua, my dear ones, is the most tempting to change. Because with this, you can really control entire nations, crowds of people. From the previous part 1, you know that the historical Christ, the historical Jesus, was quite different from the biblical one. I personally find it really wonderful when people refer to Yeshua, speak his name, think of him. That's no longer a given in today's world. More and more people have also understood that the church, withholding the truth, the suffering that has been created by them over millennia, is indescribable and can hardly be put into words. But I ask, why do people who no longer believe in the church itself, as institutions, but the Bible seriously, it was indeed written by these churches, altered, and obscured in medieval scriptoriums by so-called correctors. Why do you question the church, but not their work? We come to the first pieces of evidence. Bishop Marcion. About 150 AD already. That was not long after the life of Jeshua. He spoke emphatically about the falsification of the Bible even in his time and in earlier times. Why doesn't any Bible reader want to take this into account? After all, Marcion was honestly regarded as one of the most enlightened minds of Christianity. And at that time, around 150 AD, he waged a bitter battle against the Bible falsifiers, as the teachings of Jesus directly contradict all Mosaic teachings. He had demonstrated that through the apparent acceptance of baptism, he also called them priests, Pharisees, whom Jesus had already warned about, have sneaked into the church and used their power and influence to rewrite the teachings of Jesus. So, early already, He demonstrated, and now it gets interesting. He demonstrated that the scholars distorted the origin and distorted his places of action. When I read that, I thought to myself, Eureka, hey, this confirms everything I've written about. None of that took place there, where they said his origin is still what they claim. Remember, Bishop Marcion's most significant statement was that his true lineage was obscured. Isn't that gigantic? Honestly, that Yeshua was not from the tribe of David, that is claimed, hey, we can still find that in the Bible today. I found it Matthew 22, 41 to 46, Mark 12, 35, 37, Luke 20, 41, 44, and John 7, 41 to 43. Okay. Paul also expressed this in his letters to Timothy. And the Bad and Sikh, the tribe of Jesus mentioned in India, it goes back to an Indo-European ancient erotic root. A rose has sprung from a tender root, of which the ancients sang of Jesus was the kind. The Jesse Yoga teacher, for example, and the great author Jagadish Chandra from India explained, I quote the following in his book. On my journeys in the distant West, I looked at my Indo-Germanic brothers, who are connected to us spiritually, and connected through the bonds of blood. Aryan, Atlantean, age of the king of the Asans, the legacy of the spirit, our great brother, the yoga sage from Nazareth. According to Indian and Atlantean teachings, an incarnation of God appears in every age as the second divine person to guide people not only in ancient Rome, in the form of Yeshua. With the Indians, for example, it's the Trimurti, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And according to their statements, Yeshua is a so-called ever-coming one. And today we are exploring a very special question. Does one have the places? The events, the origin of Yeshua, everything is relocated. Where did he really work, if that were the case? I find this an incredibly exciting topic that we are exploring today. So, shall we go back to the point 1? That was in ancient Egypt. I mentioned it in the first part. By the children on December 21st, a manger was carried through the street around the birthday of the Horus child, also called Christos Ijusa Ijusu, to celebrate. The manger was located in Abydos among the Egyptians. So was Jesus really not born in a manger and borrowed the story from the Egyptians? Rhetorical question. We're actually getting closer to the matter. I should mention that from December 21st until December 24th, the sun is aligned with Orion, where the 3 wise kings are located. Al-Nilam, and Mintaka, also known as Jacob's ladder. Rigel is the brightest star in Orion, and it even radiates. Sometimes it emits stronger or more energy than our sun. It's 40,000 times brighter. The star cluster manger is actually also on this direct line. This is astrotheology, my dear. Let's also consider the fact that Osiris was resurrected in Anu by Horus. And it were of course interchangeable in ancient times. That's known. So from Anu, we get Ani. If you put the Hebrew word for house, which is Bet, in front of it, you get Bethany. Yes, that didn't exist before. That was invented there first. And that's where Lazarus was supposedly resurrected by Yeshua. Was there really a Britain? Never. And it was only invented when the story was created. Just questions, right? Very interesting questions. The names of regions and cities, my dear, have always been constantly changed throughout history, depending on which culture was dominant at the time, who conquered, and who ruled over it. So, for example, is Lazarus? Many German places, for example, also received Roman endings. During the Roman period, the terms from Old Celtic were retained. A Roman-sounding ending was added to it to make it sound Roman, absolutely clear. And then they say, yes, they were only founded in ancient Rome. These cities, which is not correct. But all right. Lazarus, my dear, is also a play on words. Let's move on. So, another word for Osiris is and was indeed Azar. That's how he's referred to in Sumerian. In Mesopotamia, and he was the son of Marcus, also known as Ra. A Hebrew term for God that we also know is Elohim, so El. Elohim is actually the plural, just so you know. Elohim is the singular. El means the shining one, like Michael, Gabriel, Zadkiel, Michael, and so on. So, El was placed before Azar. El Azar, the shining Osiris. If we now add the typical Roman ending for a male first name, US, Marcus, Antonius, Philistor, Julius, and so on, we have Eleazar Lazarus. Aha. And you know, the term El was also stolen, it was unloaded. Or should we say, stolen and distorted? El was the supreme god of the Canaanites, who, biblically speaking, was despised. Nevertheless, they borrowed El from them. Maybe they wanted to cut off contact with the Canaanites under threat of death, right? So that it doesn't come to light. Is he an Ugaritic? There he was the main god. Until the Philistines and their relatives, the Philistines, that is, the old Nordic seafaring peoples, came and changed the culture. I'll give you a prayer here from the fount. You know, in Ugarit, he was the main god until the Philistines and their relatives, the Philistines, came. So both Nordic seafaring peoples. They changed the culture. I have here a transmitted prayer, for example, from the found cuneiform tablets from ancient Ugarit in 1500 BC. O sons of El. O assembly of the sons of El. O assembly of the sons of El, and Asherah, the wife of El. Came from Baal and Yahweh. Be gracious. O El, be a support. O El, hurry. Hurry. El, come quickly to help Saphon. To help Ugarit. With the spear, O El. With the raised oil, with the battle axe oil, with the shattering oil. That was El. And that was long before the emergence of the faith that we attribute to El today. True story, my dear ones, once again is way more exciting than any conspiracy theory. Incredible, right? Does a very specific faith perhaps refrain from saying the name God? That's why they don't say the name God and refer to him as Adonai or El, because they fear, before that karma catches up with them. Because everything is borrowed and pieced together, and not because they consider him so holy. I'm just asking a question again. And just by the way, Adonai, now it's getting really intense. It's incredible. That stands out in today's time. Adonai was in Assyria. Another term. For the god Aton, who is reflected among the Hebrews, reflects. Aton was called Adonai. Here comes Adonai. Borrowed again